Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. We are pleased to be joined by Northville boys basketball coach Todd Sander. Todd, welcome back to the show.
Casey, thanks for having us. It's a busy week, and you've been busy with football, so appreciate you ramping up basketball season with us.
Absolutely, I've been in Northville quite a bit the last few weeks. So with might as well just start with that, just to to see what football's been able to do first year with Brent Luplow as head coach. And I know that you've gotten the opportunity to coach a lot of those guys. What was just that like to see, them accomplish something, first district title in 23 years, and just to see that the run that they've had.
Yeah, I think it was awesome. I've got to know Brent. I was on the committee when he got hired, and I've got to know him even better over the last 6 or 7 months. I'm really happy for him. He came into a great situation. Coach Laddick had a great base and a great program in place that Brent was able to just, kind of take and run and make it his own. Great group of kids. That senior class is pretty darn special, right? They've played together for a long time. They've had a lot of success. And I'm happy for it. We're going to have a handful of those football players that will be on our team. And we're hoping that they can kind of carry that mentality into our season. We're going to be pretty darn young. We're going to be pretty darn inexperienced. Some people have joked this week and said, man, your football team has kind of screwed up your basketball season. And I say the heck with that. You want your football team to be as good as they can. And if we're a little bit late starting, that's just the way it is. And so be it. Because when your football team has a successful season, I think it just kind of kicks off the entire school year into a big positive. So I'm so happy for Coach and those players and everybody involved.
Absolutely. So kind of just go through also I know that since we're on the topic of coaching changes, obviously there's one on the girls' side as well. Of course, I know that obviously the big thing all 15 years ago in 2008, where Laddick, you and Todd Gudith were all hired as coaches. Of course, Todd stepped down after last season, and a very familiar face to you is heading over to coach the girls with Sean Henno. What Sean's been on, you've worked with Sean a long time. What's it like to see him to take over the girls program?
Yeah, we were super sad to lose him, obviously, selfishly, because he was so good with our program and with our players, really at all levels. I was on that committee when he got hired, and to me, he's a home run hire for our girls program. He's worked his butt off since he got hired. They've been in the gym a ton. I know he's got a pretty young team as well. And, they, like us, they've got a really, really tough schedule and a really tough division, in the girls' side in the KLAA. So, Sean's going to do a great job. He's continued to do a good job. We've got a great working relationship and are trying to figure out some ways to do stuff together, with our teams or programs. But as unfortunate as it was for us to lose him, it's a great thing for him personally, and it's a great thing for the school and the program.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Let's I know obviously tryouts are tryouts are wrapping up for a lot of teams, and either yesterday or today is when a lot of teams are going to be set. For you guys, it's at time of recording. This is around Wednesday morning at around 10-11 a.m. So just kind of talk about where you guys are at right now. Obviously obviously a lot of you guys are going to be young. A lot of guys have either left. Obviously two guys, obviously the two leading scorers from last year moved. So what's this team going to be like?
Yeah, no, we're going to make it a cut here this afternoon, and then like I said, we gave our football players a full week off, so they're going to join us this weekend. So we'll have our roster officially set probably by Sunday of this week. And then, we've got 3 or 4 practices together, and then we've got a scrimmage at Belleville the Friday after Thanksgiving. And then we've played an exhibition game with Dearborn in late November. So, we're going to test ourselves early with all of that. We're inexperienced. We're having a little bit of a later start with the football guys. Obviously, we're going to have, some sophomores with us. So we're going to have kind of 3 classes represented. So not a ton of familiarity in terms of guys that have played together. So I think it's going to take us some time, right? It's a kind of a disjointed, clunky start for us, but we're okay with that, right? We want to challenge ourselves in December. We went 2-6 last year in December, and then had a great run to finish. So We don't have true, hey, we want to finish with this record, or we want to win this championship, or we want to get better every single day. And that's really going to be our focus. And having some, less experienced guys, I think our practices might look a little bit different. We're going to focus a lot on fundamental and skill development, right? The football guys, it's a good problem to have. They're going to be a little bit rusty. So, it's going to take them a while to kind of now get, back into basketball conditioning mode, but then, having a basketball in their hands instead of that football. So it's going to take time. We've told our players that, hey, we need some patience through all of this. But we want to work towards, like always, playing our best come tournament time.
Absolutely. And that certainly was that certainly happened last year. Of course, you guys taking a district title, and yeah. So let's I know obviously the roster isn't set yet, but you have a pretty good idea of what you have. So kind of talk about some of the guys to watch out for Northville this year.
Yeah, our two guys that are back with the most experience, playing varsity basketball experience, would be Nick Hellner and Chad Carney. Nick had a great football season. Yep. And they're two of our size players. So they were both, they both battled injuries like most of our team at various points last year. But they were both starting at different points during the year, played significant minutes. Sonny Rentz is another senior that can play a lot of different spots. He's got a lot of versatility, right? He had a great football season. So we're going to have, probably kind of 3 senior returners that are going to lead us. We've got a handful of juniors that had successful seasons on the JV. A couple guards, Caden Kuban, again, who had a great football year. Yep. Marcus Hudson, Simon Sondriel, who was a 2-year JV player for us. Ryan Young is in the mix. Bennett Watson is another football guy that I expect, to make it and make an impact for us. So we do have, mentioning all of those guys, plus Brody Griezak, who will probably be a sophomore that's going to play with us. We've got 4 for the things that people say we might not have. We do have some size, which we haven't had like true size where we can put 2 or 3 bigs on the floor at the same time. So, it's going to take us some time to adapt to both sides of the ball. How are we going to deal with that size? Are we going to be able to play defense like we have in the past, or are we going to have to change up how we play? But I really think that we're going to be able to control the glass on the defensive end and kind of limit teams to one shot, hopefully. And then, hopefully score some cheap ones, right? By getting some putbacks and things like that with those big guys. And we've got another sophomore who's probably in the mix, Nate Imbazario, who was kind of a 5-quarter guy last year. Nate's a basketball junkie, was over in Europe playing in some camps this summer with a lot of different teams over there. So, Nate might have been a 5-quarter guy for us at the end of last year, but given what's happened, we're going to thrust some sophomores into probably some big minutes by the end of the year this year. Yeah.
Okay. So, so obviously let's also talk about, with your staff, just kind of, I don't think we've ever done this. Can you introduce your assistant coaches and who JV and freshmen will be ran by?
Yeah, we in our program have a lot of coaches. So on the varsity with us is Sean Turner. Sean's a teacher at the high school, played at Dearborn High. He's basically my same age. And Sean's been with us for 16 or 17 years. He and I started together on the JV. He's great. It's good to have him in the building. His father was a basketball coach, actually coached my brother at Northville in the mid-90s. So just a basketball junkie. Sean kind of acts as our defensive coordinator and coordinates a lot of our scouting and our defensive system. Ed Critch has been with us for a long time. He graduated from Northville in the 70s. So he's another alum like myself, and he's coached girls, he's coached boys, he's been a head coach, he's been an assistant coach in Northville at Salem Girls under Fred Thoman. Ed kind of coordinates our offense. And then we've got Coach Metai, who has been with me basically my entire career at Northville. His daughter was a good player for us in the late 90s. She's basically my same age. So Ollie started coaching with us basically when she started graduating. He started in the girls program way back when the girls season was in the fall. I would help him with the JV girls, and then he would help me with the JV boys. And then when the seasons flip-flopped, and everybody went in the winter, a number of us stayed with the boys program instead. So that rounds out our varsity staff. Like you said, Coach Dickin was with us last year. We've got 2 JV coaches, Coach Brett Turner, who is Sean's younger brother, and he's been our JV coach for 13 or 14 years, which is just forever in the world of coaching high school today,
Yeah.
especially at the sub-varsity level, right? And Chris Jacobs helps him. Chris is another Northville alum, has coached with us. He's coached at other schools out of state prior to moving back. He's coached on the varsity. He's been our freshman head coach. He's been a JV assistant. Chris, like I said, is in the building too. And then we've got 2 on our freshman staff. Chris Ackett is our freshman coach. I think this will be his 4th year being the freshman head coach. He was a JV assistant before that. And then Coach Schumacher, who's just a legend in the Northville coaching world, helps him. Coach Schu was my predecessor and was very influential in me, taking over for him in 2008. Coach Schu's coached at Northville, I think, for maybe close to 45 years, various sports, and was our head football coach for a long time, obviously the head basketball coach, and is now still coaching on our football staff. So yeah, we've got a great group of guys, one that are extremely basketball knowledgeable, but that just enjoy being around each other and hanging out with each other too.
Yeah, of course. That's a big thing there. So obviously the the division and the league overall in the KLAA is going to be as competitive as ever. When you look at the division this year, and obviously, we just kind of talked about this before I turned the recording light on. But your division's going to be it's going to be an interesting division to see what's going to happen. A lot of teams lost a lot of guys, similar to the position that you're in. But what's it's going to be like heading into this year?
Yeah, I think maybe unlike some years past, there's no maybe clear-cut front runner. Obviously we're all biased to our own teams and things like that. But given, like you said, who has lost, seniors and scorers and key players, I think it's going to kind of be wide open. I think it's going to be, like always, extremely competitive, right? There was 0 turnover from coaches in our division. So you kind of know what, each team is going to be running, or, for the most part, there's a lot of familiarity. All these guys work their ass off and then scout and work hard. So it's incredibly well coached division. I think there's 3 or 4 teams that could probably win it. So, it's going to be interesting to see how it does. Good rivals. Howell, I think, is going to be up there. Brighton, I think, will be up there, even though they lost a bunch. Novi's going to be really good. They got a lot of guys coming back. Both them and Brighton had really successful JV teams. So I really couldn't, for the media day, we had to kind of predict standings in that, and it was darn nearly impossible, because I think it's so wide open in terms of teams that can be in the mix for that.
Yeah, obviously Canton's going to be up there as well. So,
they're going to look a lot different just roster wise than they have in the past, right, losing all of those bigs. But no, Jimmy does a great job. They're always going to be in the mix.
Yeah, of course, Salem's going to be, of course, Ryan's coming back. Of course, Plymouth, Lucas will be back from injury. So it's going to be, it's going to be an interesting division on the west side. And then of course you also got the East with, the team that you're going to be scrimmaging. A lot of people are picking Dearborn to really be, and of course Dearborn really doesn't kind of lose a lot of those guys. So obviously you'll get a chance to see them. And you talk about scheduling those big opponents early on in the season, and you talk about those non-conference and as well as the non-conference opponents as well. Kind of talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, the last few years we've tried to really load up our December schedule, and really test us early. I think when you're a new or a younger coach, you maybe want to win more than you want to grow. I think that's human nature. Until the last few years when we really charged our schedule up. Like I said, we were 2-6 last year in December, and really didn't hit the panic button because we knew what we were capable of. And just, I think playing those tough early games and tough opponents help propel us in those tough moments that district week, right? Playing all those overtime games. But we're playing Pioneer, who's going to give us a good test. We're playing South Lyon. We're playing Lakeland. We play Canton actually before Christmas. So even though they're a division opponent, we're going to play them in mid-December, right before school break. We're going to play Woodhaven, who's a good downriver school. So we've got a lot of really good opponents on the schedule, that I hope to test us. So that, and we're going to, regardless of the outcome on the scoreboard, we're going to learn a heck of a lot about ourselves during the month of December.
Okay. So, another thing is this basketball season is going to be a little different in terms of maybe some of the things that if you go to a game, there's going to be some things that are going to be a little different this year. And I think there's at least two of them that I'm kind of thinking. One we talked about, and let's talk about, like, with the fouls, and then possibly inbounding as well.
Yeah, no, the foul situation will be interesting, right? And 1-on-1s are gone for the time being, and that change came out in May. From our standpoint, I think it surprised a lot of us because there really hadn't been many rumors about that change being possible. But now we've moved to the same foul rules as the college women, where it's 5 fouls per quarter, and on the 5th foul, everybody's going to shoot 2 free throws from that point on. So again, no 1-on-1s. I think it's going to be a learning experience for a lot of us. We reached out to some of the women's college coaches that have been doing this just to kind of get their observations and thoughts about, things you might want to manage. And I think there could be some strategy early in games where maybe if you have a foul to give at the end of a quarter or the end of a half, that you might foul because you've got 14 fouls or if you got 3 team fouls or less, you potentially might be able to eliminate an offensive possession for your opponent. At the end of games, right, and overtime would just carry over the 4th quarter foul situation. I think it's going to be harder to come back for a team, right? So if you get that late lead and you're a decent ball control team and a good free throw shooting team, that you should be able to salt those games away a little bit easier than having to go through 1-on-1 situations. Something interesting that I thought Mike Neighbors of Arkansas said was they noticed that sometimes some of their better foul shooters, sometimes, they get up there for 2 and you're just kind of expecting that they're going to make 2. Maybe they observe that, hey, that shooter, knowing they've got a second shot, maybe doesn't focus as much. So they noticed some of their better shooters, when this was first implemented, missing that first shot because they knew they had a second one coming. So maybe you dial it down a little bit mentally, and where you might focus a little bit harder when it was a one-on-one situation. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's not gotten a lot of talk or media. I don't think right now, at least in terms of print. So I think it's going to be a learning experience as we all start here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I think there might be some other changes as well, and I think they're talking about some, when teams inbound the ball, there could be some change. Is there going to be some changes there too? Because I think I heard that.
I've not heard a lot about that yet. The foul situation is the big one that I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, and also just kind of wrapping up. Just kind of talk about these next few weeks. Obviously, the team will be set today, and heading into the week of Thanksgiving, and just really what's the next few weeks are going to look like before that first game.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty quick for us. Getting a later start. So it's going to be kind of cramming in your base offense, your base defense. A few out of bounds plays, obviously, and you got to be able to deal with the press, and you want to have some type of pressure game in case you get behind. But for us, we're going to practice both days this weekend. Our volleyball team is having great success too, so we may give our guys off Friday this week in case they want to go watch the semifinal game over in Battle Creek this Friday. But then we're going to practice all 3 days next week. Obviously off for Thanksgiving, and then we're going to Belleville that Friday night. So typically we would scrimmage the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. We changed that a little bit, and we're gonna go to Belleville. We've got a tough schedule there. We're gonna get back and practice a couple days, and then we've got that Dearborn exhibition game in early the first week of games, and then practice a day or so, and then we go to Pioneer on Friday, December 1st. So I mean we're gonna be playing a game here essentially 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks and 2 days from now. And then we do have, after that game, a decent little break so we can kind of see where we're at, take a deep breath, and, see if what we're doing we think has us on the right track, or do we need to make a change, on offense or defense. But we, the way we play and the way we coach is we kind of build throughout the entire season. We put a bunch of different offensive actions in. And then, as we get near the end of the season, we kind of dial it back and, hey, what's our best stuff? And let's really get good at our best stuff. But it's the constant puzzle, that we're trying to put together in terms of personnel and scheme, obviously. But for us, it's always a work in progress. Even once we start playing 2 games a week, we're always making subtle tweaks along the way.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, and I totally forgot about this thing. Something pretty interesting. It's pretty cool is going to happen this year between the some two conferences. Of course, I'm talking about the KLAA and the OAA. There is going to be a crossover game there, and all the KLAA teams are hosting this year. Next year, of course, the OAA teams will host. But who's coming in to play you guys?
Yeah, I think that's a great event that our athletic director, Brian Samolsky, he's really a basketball guy and tries to be forward thinking. So I give him a lot of credit for putting this entire thing together, because I think it can do nothing but, increase the media attention of our league, but also both of our leagues. The KLAA, I don't think it always gets the respect that it deserves in terms of players and coaches. So we have Rochester Adams coming in to play us. We're going to play on, I think it's Thursday, December 14th.
Yeah.
Because then we have a day off that Friday, and then we're playing Country Day on that Saturday. So we're going to play like 3 games in about 5 days during that stretch. But I know Adams, I know Jarrett moved on from last year, Thomas. But I'm expecting a good test. They typically have had a lot of success. I think they might have either won their region or played in the regional final last year. So I don't know a lot about their roster, or what they do yet. We've not gotten that far yet, but I think it's an awesome event that Brian's doing for our whole league. And hopefully it's something that can continue to build, year after year and make it even better.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Todd, thank you so much for the time as always, and best of luck to the Mustangs this year.
Cool. Thank you, Casey. We'll talk to you soon.